Welcome back to Indie Corner. Now, indies typically mean creator-owned books, which could mean a single person trying to promote a book that they made, or a company publishing creator-owned books. Today, we're going to be focusing on Darby Pop Publishing, and we're going to explore a murder mystery about the Tooth Fairy. Our story begins late one night, and a fairy at her limits is standing on the edge of a building. Someone has been chasing her down, and the fairy looks back to state that her wings are broken. She's run as far as she can. So whatever lesson she was supposed to learn, she did. The fairy then asks the person chasing her if they're at least going to say something. But before she can even finish that sentence, a shot is fired and our fairy falls off the building. On the other side of town, Charlie, another fairy, is woken up by a phone call from her father. Charlie's father tells her that her sister Jill was shot and killed. And as Charlie gets dressed, her father goes on to state that it might be possible that the humans did this. But if anybody has seen anything, no one is talking. The fairies have been living in secret, using the myth of the Tooth Fairy to maintain their own existence. Charlie needs to go get her sister's body back now because the humans will discover the existence of fairies on a larger scale if the body is left where it's at. But before leaving, her father tells her that she needs to also go get her other sister, Lucy. Charlie heads over to Lucy's apartment and wakes up Lucy and her date. When Charlie enters, she asks Lucy if it would kill her to pay her cell phone bill because she did try calling first. The man steps out and asks if this was the sister that Lucy mentioned that was a cop, and he goes to introduce himself, but before he can, Lucy kicks him out. Charlie asks who that was, and Lucy tells her, Bill the bassist, I think? And as Lucy begins to go into the fact that it's honestly none of Charlie's business, Charlie tells her about Jill. Lucy says that she'll go get dressed, and as she does, Charlie notices the scars on Lucy's back, the ones where her wings used to be, and Lucy tells Charlie it's not polite to stare. Lucy mentions that she saw Jill last week. They went out for lunch, but she didn't seem happy with the work of being the Tooth Fairy anymore. She envied her sisters for living a normal life. Later, Charlie and Lucy bring their sister's body back home to their father, King Oberon. And Charlie begins to ask her father what information they have. He tells her that this can wait until morning, but moments later, Titania, Oberon's wife, comes in to see their child. Titania hugs Charlie and asks if she will find who did this, and Charlie tells her, of course. But as Titania turns, she doesn't even acknowledge the other sister, Lucy. Lucy leaves upset, and Charlie follows after her. Outside, the two have a smoke, and Charlie mentions that she can take some time off from her police work to help. But Lucy tells her that she'll probably do a better job right now staying a cop, and Lucy will help her pick up the slack. Charlie tells her that she doesn't even know anything about police work, but Lucy tells her that she doesn't know anything about her sisters. Lucy then remembers back when her father came to her with a choice to live outside of their kingdom. Lucy liked the idea of leaving, and Oberon hands her a sword, telling her that he needs someone out there in the real world to act for him. But in doing so, there's something else that she must do, and that is remove her wings. As Charlie heads back inside, Oberon asks how Lucy is. What is she doing now? And Charlie explains that she knows that Lucy is with someone because she woke them up. Charlie then questions why he wants to know, and Oberon tells her that he's just worried. Charlie asks him to give him a timeline as to when all of this happened. And Oberon states that as the Tooth Fairy, Jill has two bodyguards, and they lost contact with Jill around 9:15. But the bodyguards then heard a gunshot just after 10. As they continue their talk, Charlie begins to understand that her father wanted Charlie to bring Lucy because he started to suspect that Lucy might have been the one who did this. Charlie begins to walk outside and asks what brought on his suspicions, and she wants to know what is he not telling her about Lucy. The next morning, Charlie sits at her desk with Keith, her police officer partner, and he asks if she had a rough night because from her looks, she did. Charlie tells him that it's just some family issues. Keith gives her some coffee, and shortly after, their superior arrives telling Charlie and Keith that they've just found a body and they need to go check it out. Once they get outside, someone calls out to Charlie and she sees that it's Billy the bassist. But he's kind of confused because Billy isn't his name. He is a bassist, but his name is Jake Barber. Jake says that he came here to see Charlie about Lucy, and if she's busy, he can come back later. It's Keith who steps in and tells him, take her out for some coffee, and she's all yours. He'll handle the body that was found. So Jake and Charlie head off, and she asks what did he want to know about Lucy. But Jake tells her that she kind of already answered his questions, seeing as Lucy didn't even remember his name. Charlie asks if he came to try and get advice on her sister, and Jake says no, yes. So she tells him that she still owes him some coffee, and she has some questions for him as well. Back over with Oberon, he begins to walk down a long hallway to some cells until he stops in front of Puck's cell. Puck tells him that he doesn't remember being in a cell as a part of their arrangement, and Oberon tells him that his mischief tends to draw some unwanted attention. But Oberon is here with a job for him, and he begins to open up the cell. Puck asks which of Oberon's people he needs to kill, and Oberon shows him a picture of his daughter, Lucy. Oberon is sending Puck to kill his daughter. Later, Oberon is standing on the roof of a building and Titania comes to ask him what's the matter. He states that he's done something terrible. He's convinced himself that Lucy was the killer because it would be the best answer because it would mean that no humans knew of the fairies. Titania asks what he did, and Oberon tells her he sent Puck to kill Lucy. Except Titania is happy. Oberon doomed the only fairy to defy the crown. Oberon tells Titania that he doomed his daughter, our daughter, But Titania says Lucy is not her daughter. She hasn't been for a long time. But if Lucy didn't kill Jill, then who did? And Oberon says maybe this boy. But Charlie is on her way to find out. Back at Jill's apartment, Lucy kicks Puck in the groin and takes the knife that he was going to use to kill Lucy and puts it to his neck, questioning him. Puck says that he was sent to kill her, that's true, but as Lucy begins to press him further, Charlie appears stating that Lucy might be the only member of the family without any secrets. Lucy then tells Charlie, "Do you know who did this? This is the guy that Dad sends when fairies misbehave, which means Dad thinks I killed Jill." Charlie tells Lucy that she knows that she didn't. She thinks Jake did. Lucy asks who, and Charlie says Billy the bassist. But Lucy still doesn't. Oh, right, now she remembers. Charlie and Lucy decide to bring Puck along and they head over to Jake's apartment. Lucy knocks on the door and Jake sees that it's Lucy, so when he opens the door, Charlie points her gun at Jake's head and Lucy kicks him in the groin. The three of them let themselves in, and after tying Jake up, Charlie questions Jake about sleeping with Lucy hours after killing Jill, which Jake denies. Puck then turns to Lucy and asks if they really had sex, and Lucy tells him, barely. Puck says that that's interesting. Murder usually turns him into a god in the bedroom, and then Lucy notices a buzzing coming from Jake. She pulls out Jake's cell phone and finds that he had a call coming from her journalist contact. So Lucy answers the phone and asks the journalist why is he calling this guy, and the man says that he was digging into the situation for her. Why does she have his phone? Is she seeing another journalist? Lucy hangs up and says, let him go. Jake is just another reporter. And Charlie puts away her gun and asks, was he really just there to sleep with Jill? Did he see anyone? Jake goes on to state that he was actually seeing Jill for several weeks, but this time, 5 minutes after he showed up, Jill's bodyguards knocked and told Jill that she had a visitor and that Jake needed to leave right that second. As Jake began to leave, he did pass somebody on their way into Jill's apartment. And as he describes the woman, everyone realizes that it looked like Titania, the queen of the fairies. Charlie and Lucy begin to head over to see their father Oberon, and along the way, Lucy states that no matter what happens, she can take care of herself. Lucy then tells her about the reason she left the kingdom. Their father sent her off to be an assassin. Charlie then realizes it's the same with Puck, and Lucy continues to state how she only kills humans, while Puck only kills fairies. Charlie asks if their mother knew what Lucy was doing, but with how she's been acting towards Lucy, she doubts it. The two of them pull up to their father's house and the bodyguards begin to walk them in. As Charlie and Lucy walk up the stairs, Charlie mentions that something about the bodyguards didn't seem right when she spoke to them. And Lucy asks if she thinks maybe they did it, but Charlie says no, but they might know who did it. Lucy then kicks one of the guards, and before the other one can pull her gun, Lucy punches her and knocks her out. Charlie states that it looks like she really can't handle herself, and Lucy tells her to go on ahead. She has this. Charlie hurries upstairs and meets with her father, and Oberon asks if Lucy is okay. And Charlie tells him yes, but Lucy found something at Jill's, her cell phone. But it's strange that there are 11 missed calls from the same number. The last one about 25 minutes before she was killed. Oberon asks if Charlie recognized the number, and Charlie said she didn't have to. It was a contact in the phone. It was Titania, the queen of the fairies and their mother. Charlie walks Oberon over to her mother, and Titania slaps Charlie for accusing her. Oberon goes to check on Charlie, but Charlie explains what happened. After calling so many times, Titania went to Jill's apartment and found the boy Jake leaving. Once inside, Jill told Titania that she was quitting being the Tooth Fairy, and that along with seeing a boy leaving, both of those were reasons for Titania to kill Jill. Titania begins to tell Charlie that she did it for the good of the fairies, and Oberon comes over and begins to choke his wife. But behind her back, Titania pulls out a gun and shoots Oberon, and then shoots herself. Lucy comes running in to see what happened, but after realizing that both her parents are now dead, Lucy begins to kneel at Charlie. And as Charlie asks what she's doing, Charlie then stands in front of all of the other fairies doing the same thing, with Charlie being the oldest daughter. She is now the queen of the fairies. Charlie tells everyone to stand, this doesn't feel right, and then she goes on to state that Oberon's failures as a king was that he didn't change with the times, and she tells Lucy that this is going to be harder than she thought, but Lucy tells her just to give it time. Shortly after, a fairy walks forward and shows Charlie a video that was posted online about someone recording a fairy flying away, and she asks how the fairy should proceed. This is currently on YouTube and has millions of hits. They can't stay secret anymore. And so, not wanting to do what her father did, Charlie tells the fairy that she has an idea. It's time for the fairies to come out into the open. If you want to support this independent publisher and their book, make sure you click the links down below, order the book yourself on Amazon or Comicsology, or just buy the individual issues. I personally do love a lot of the books that they put out, and this is one of my favorites. I know it's kind of a spin, something very similar to Fables, but it's a new take on it, and since we don't have anything like this right now, I personally like the book. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at Comicstorian, follow them on Twitter at DarbyPopPublishing, and you can follow me on Instagram at Comicstorian. I'll see you guys next time right here.